So feel free to grab some food, some drink in the back. There's also a selfie station at the front. Hashtag Thrive Worldwide. And a spot for you to fill out what disability issue you're most passionate about for 2020. So some of the ones that have been done so far are, I care about disability entrepreneurship. I personally care about disability employment. Alex cares about disability justice. So go over to the selfie station, please. Thank you, and we'll get started shortly.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to see if this works.
Well, why are you putting yourself on selfie?
So you'll see. There we go. Okay.
Did you see my message in the chat?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me if I go like this and take this off camera? Okay, can you hear me like this?
I mean, I can hear you on the audio fine.
Okay, you can, that's fine, and it matches the
Yeah.
picture.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna intro, and then we have to take like a selfie video for Thrive Worldwide.
Okay.
And then I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect.
And then once you're done, then I'll come back and I'll intro Zahna, and you can log off the. Did you want me to print the sign-in sheet or have people? So I have the check-in in the back.
I
so
think
I guess,
as long as that should be fine.
Okay, that I sent you the Eventbrite.
Yep.
Wait, so just so I understand, do you want me to show the video?
So I can show it now that I have it up on my computer. I'll just share
okay.
screen. Yeah.
So let me test one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna try and put you. Okay, give me 1 second.
Yes.
I'm gonna try and put you on the big screen.
Okay.
All right, so you're on the big screen now.
Oh yeah.
All right, but I think when we get started, I'm not gonna have you on the big screen.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So. Did I do that right? There? All right.
Okay, and let me know if you want me to.
Oh yeah, I do need to look something up. Oh no, where? Oh, here's my mouse. I need to look up what to say for Thrive Worldwide.
I'm just getting up the presentation in the background, and then I can go through that really quick.
This is great.
Yeah.
It's like perfect amount of seats. Okay, let me see here. Thrive Worldwide. All right. and I have you guys come up and show us what we're doing. So we're going to do a selfie of us saying, I appreciate you. Yeah, okay. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi. We'll go ahead and get started now. So for those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Tiffany Yu, and I am the founder of a disability advocacy organization called Diversability. How many of you are new to Diversability? Yay! So I really started Diversability based on my own personal experiences with disability. I was involved in a car accident when I was 9 and have a type of paralysis that impacts my right arm known as brachial plexus palsy. And when I was growing up, I felt really socially isolated and excluded. And so I started Diversability because I wanted friends. But I really started it because I became really curious about what it looked like to be strong and powerful and courageous in our disability narratives when so much of the media was telling us that we needed to feel ashamed and embarrassed and pitied because of whatever diagnosis we had. So a couple times each year throughout the country, and now we're in a couple cities around the world, we'll host events that showcase other disability advocates and other leaders with disabilities to share their stories, because disability origin stories are really important. All of us have different ones, and all of our stories are valid. So that's a little bit about Diversability. How many of you guys are new to AbleThrive? Okay, great. So this event is called Thrive Worldwide. And I'm going to have Zahna and Francis come up and show us how to sign that in a second here. But AbleThrive was really started because the founder, her father, became paraplegic, and she was really wondering where to find resources to help support him so that he could live life to the fullest. And as part of their programming, they host what is called Thrive Worldwide in a bunch of cities around the world, celebrating life to the fullest, but they also host this on December 3rd every year, which is when the United Nations hosts their International Disability Day. There's something that I'm supposed to read to you from AbleThrive as well. It says, thanks for being a part of Thrive Worldwide and joining us as a partner with AbleThrive in their global campaign to celebrate living life to the fullest and advancing inclusion in society. AbleThrive was created to make it easier for people with disabilities and their families to find the resources they need to thrive. They also want to change how the world sees ability and show more authentic representations of disability in society. So if you want the same, AbleThrive welcomes you to be a part of their community. We, people with disabilities and allies, are stronger together. Have a great time and enjoy today. So as part of Thrive Worldwide, we are asked to take a selfie video of all of us saying, we're checking in from San Francisco for Thrive Worldwide. And then we'll take a group photo. So Francis and Zahna, if you want to come up and show the audience how to sign Thrive Worldwide, we can say it and sign it at the same time.
You ready? Thrive. Thrive Worldwide.
This?
Thrive Worldwide.
Ready for the video?
Yes, but we're gonna have them sit here.
So we're going to say, checking in from San Francisco, this is Thrive Worldwide.
Oh no. All right. It doesn't seem to be on the phone. Yeah. All right. Can you get all of us? Or should we have them move over here?
So you're going to be videotaping them up front?
He's going to be videotaping us.
And so we should all be signing from the audience.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you'd like, what? Yeah. Well, so you film it and then maybe you can text it to me.
All right, so we're going to do checking in from San Francisco. This is Thrive Worldwide.
Yeah, so everyone on that side, come over here if you want to. And you just tell me when to start recording.
Okay, and then the second one will just be a photo. Okay, ready?
So I'll say 1, 2, 3, and then we'll say checking in from San Francisco. This is Thrive Worldwide.
After 1, 2, 3, give a 1 second pause, then I'll hit the play.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Checking in from San Francisco. This is Thrive Worldwide.
Okay, let's do that one more time.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Checking in from San Francisco. This is Thrive Worldwide.
Nice. Photo.
And now we're just going to take over.
And with 3, 2, 1. Is that good?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, that was a little bit of a logistics question.
That was fun.
All right, so our third co-host of the day is called LINK20. And we actually have Jenny Fishel, who is dialed in from Boston, who is going to tell us a little bit about the organization. So it's going to be 1 minute to get her set up on the screen. And the cool thing about Jenny is she is a Paralympic silver medalist. That's her fun fact.
Where should I go again from?
I'm Boston. Jenny, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yep. I see myself.
All right.
Oh, there I am.
You're good?
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, guys. My name's Jenny Fitchell, and I am currently in Boston, where we just got about 8 inches of snow. And I just wanted to check in with everybody and tell you a little bit about LINK20. So I have a quick presentation that I'm actually going to share with you guys. If I can get this up on the screen. Okay. Can you guys see the presentation? Oh, there it is. Awesome. So let me just present this. Okay, so LINK20 is, we'll go like this, a global social movement led by a network of young advocates, both with and without disabilities. And our goal is to really just raise the awareness and advance the inclusion of people with disabilities in society. And so I did have a video to show you guys, but I'm not sure the video is working right now. So I'll just kind of keep moving on. So what we do is we have online and offline areas, and we do major awareness campaigns. We really ask the advocates to give us information about what their challenges are, what they want to hear, what they want to see. Part of the reason we're asking you for ideas for 2020 is exactly that, so that we can see what we want to do in 2020 and where we want to go within the disability and inclusion communities. So the structure of the movement is basically, we have this like strong leadership core that is going to be running the movement, and then a leading group, which would be people coming to meetings, interacting, and then activists, like an active community, and then the social network. So we have like our Facebook right now, we're getting up an Instagram, and then we have a couple highlights from 2019. One thing that is all the way to, I believe you're right of the screen, is in 2018, one of our advocates brought to us about Major League Baseball. When you got injured, you would be known as being on the disabled list. And he had been trying for years to get that changed, brought it to the network of LINK20, and we wrote to Major League Baseball, and 2 months later got a letter back saying that the wording had changed for the 2019 season, and it's now known as injured list. So if you've ever heard about that, it's now the injured list on the news, on all the TV stations. And so we helped kind of get that into place. Then we have our MIT and national leadership programs where that leading group, that leadership core is formed. And then we also do different types of advocacy. So as you can see here, Kylie Jenner, when she parked in a wheelchair accessible spot, we called her out on it and actually got into People magazine and a bunch of different magazines across the world for that. And so what's up next with LINK20 is up to everybody out there, up to everybody across the US that's a part of the network. We have 8 different locations, about 400 members strong right now, and we're really aiming to get this up and going because together we're going to be stronger than if we are separate. And so this is kind of gives you a brief idea of what LINK20 is, a couple different meeting groups, MIT, the leadership program, and yeah, we're really excited to co-host this with everybody because I'm going to stop this share and get back to talking to you. So we're really excited to co-host this with everybody because we are all about inclusion, all about bringing together people both with and without disabilities to create change in the world and in the local level, the national level, and the global level. So don't worry, I will be following up with everybody and just checking in, saying hi, and seeing what your thoughts and ideas are. So thank you guys so much. And I'm gonna go to bed very soon because it's about almost 10 o'clock here. So I will talk to you guys later. Thanks and have an awesome night.
Thanks, Jenny. Jenny also, I think, spearheaded a LINK20 campaign around getting Paralympic medal pay to be on parity with Olympic medal pay. So we didn't know if you are a Paralympic medalist, you receive 1/7 of the pay that an Olympic medalist does.
Yeah, so I'll tell you really briefly. So I was a LINK20 member before I became the coordinator. And when I was a LINK20 member, I brought to LINK20 that when I won my silver medal in Rio, we only got $3,500 for winning the silver medal, whereas an Olympian got 15 grand for winning the silver medal. And I brought this to LINK20 and they said, we have to do something about this. And through the networking, through the connections, we weren't the only advocates out there talking about this and stirring up sort of this notion that equality had to be had, but we were part of the tipping force in it. And so as of October 2018, I believe it was, Paralympians were retroactively and moving forward paid the same as Olympians for a medal, but it was only back to 2018 Paralympics. So That's okay. Just means I have to go for 2020.
But that's still huge. Thanks so much, Jenny, for dialing in. I know it's late on the East Coast. We'll get back to our in-person programming, but I'm sure everyone here is excited to follow up with you about the things they're passionate about.
Yes. Say that again? Oh.
So I'm sure everyone is excited to follow up with you.
Awesome.
Talking to my computer.
Oh, that's easier. Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right. I'm gonna say good night.
Good night, guys. Have an awesome night. I wish I was there.
All right. I don't really want this on the screen anymore. All right, so now we're going to get onto our presenters. And I'm going to introduce each one of them with a fun fact. So the first presenter we have is Zahna Simon. So Zahna and I met in 2017 because we were both panelists at an event that was happening at Rock Design, which is this design agency talking about inclusive and, quote, universal, end quote, design. So about a year later, I reached out to Zahna because she is this incredible choreographer, and I decided that I was going to enter a pageant and needed something to do for the talent showcase. So Zahna actually choreographed my dance, which was to Brave by Sarah Bareilles, because Sarah Bareilles dance here, and I won. So, so I included it as part of our selfie stage that anyone wants to wear on my crown, my sash. But I held participating until March 2020. My dream in this position is to help elevate the status of girls and women with disabilities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Zahna.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. All right, thank you for having me here this evening. As she's mentioned, my name is Zahna, that is my English name, but my name in sign language looks like this. It's Sassy Z. How with me now? Yes. No. Look, we cannot be dainty. I need to see something a little bigger. Show me the sass. All right, there we go. And I got some good backup signers here. So I was born as a deaf person here in the San Francisco area where I was raised as well. I started out in an oral mainstream program with only an interpreter as my communication access, the only deaf person in that hearing world. And basically it sort of got through life and went down my path. And, I really like to be involved in a lot of different activities. I was in baseball, I was in the music program, I played the flute, I was a pianist as well, and I was a real social butterfly. But I didn't feel like the connections that I was making with people were so great. It was difficult to communicate, and I didn't feel like I was really bridging that gap with people. So it happened that this one time at school, a friend of mine was going to a ballet class, and I tagged along with her to check out what she was doing.
She just left off
So off we went, and I sat there watching the class, and I was absolutely engrossed because of the movement. It was a little difficult to try to track what people were saying in the class about what they were doing, but the bodily movement of dancing didn't require too much lip reading or listening work. It was really visual work based on the body. Need that resonate immediately. I felt immediate connection. So I went back home to mom, and I begged to join the ballet class. I got in. Of course, now I look back at this and I think, like, how much ballet really saved my life. Because it was an outlet, it was a way for me to communicate and express myself. And it was something I found a great deal of enjoyment in. So as time went by, I got into dance, and I also then started undertaking a chemistry major. So I was a little major in dance and chemistry in college. I And I found that my passion really meant that ballet was not exactly where I was looking to be. It was pretty frustrating. There was a lot of things there, a lot of barriers. A lot of people were coming to me saying that I couldn't do things because I was a deaf person. I couldn't learn to read, or I couldn't learn to write, or I couldn't learn to communicate with people. You know, they basically wanted to put me to the sidelines and put baby in that corner. So I lived in a world of pants being laid at my feet. And I think I was really lucky though, because my mother. She's really a superhero for me in my life because she was somebody that supported me and insisted that I get that good education. She rejected the notion of all those can'ts being laid upon me. And she shouted them down with a chorus of cans, which was really the only voice I paid attention to. And I realized that I could do all of these many, many things. And I found my way to be able to turn that world of cans into a world of cans. So sign with me now. This is a sign for can. I can. Can. So now when I say I can, there are people out there who might ask me about that and say, okay, fine, you can dance, but how can you hear the music? How can you dance if you can't hear the music? And I have to tell people that dancing doesn't start with your ears. It starts with your heart. Your heart already has a rhythm, and everyone has their own natural rhythm. You already have that energy inside of you. So when I would say to somebody, well, can I get a volunteer? Is anybody in the audience going to be willing to volunteer for me? Have a brave soul? There we go. We have a brave soul in the back. Come on up. All right, what's your name?
I'm Antoine Hunter, and he signed it like this, but Antoine. That's me.
Excellent. All right, Antoine. So I've called you up to be my volunteer this evening because I would like for you to become my musician.
Oh.
All right, we're going to have this cool opportunity, a dancer, a musician, yeah? All right. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to count 1, 2, 5, okay?
I know where you're going.
Okay, go ahead, clap along. Makes it fun. you can see how dance starts in your heart. It's not something that you need your ears for, because you can always find your own rhythm. And that's really one of the goals I have, is to try to share that message with people. So as I mentioned earlier, I was a double major in chemistry and in dance. And the reason why I thought I had to pick something, well, you know, they said to me, you have to pick something else. You can't just do dance. So I went ahead and picked chemistry, because I was thinking that I wanted to become a pharmacist to make medications that help people. And that was a passion that I had, was to provide that service for the community. I graduated, I got out in the real world, got my job, started working, really loved the work that I was doing. And it was chugging along, and I was dancing as well, working with sort of several different performance companies. But then I felt like it wasn't enough. I wanted to do more, and I wanted to see the results of the work that I was doing. You know, pharmacy is useful, but I couldn't see the end result of that work. So I decided to take the leap and quit the job and come back here to the Bay Area. And I didn't really know yet what I was going to do exactly, but I knew I wanted to follow my passion in dance. I found out that an old director of mine, and a musician with Antoine actually, had started the Urban Jazz Dance Company. And I went to a lot of their work and joined the company eventually. Now, understand, I was the only dancer that I knew growing up, and I thought I was the only one, period. So when I met other deaf dancers, it was mind-blowing. I felt like I had a connection with other people who shared my passion, and I wasn't stuck in some other separate world full of hearing dancers and myself alone. I found this connection with this deaf identity and this dancing identity together. So we decided that we were going to be putting together this Bay Area Dance Festival as well. We're in our second year that just happened, and it's not just one deaf dancer in the company. There are a lot of deaf dancers worldwide who have joined into the company that we've met, and we've found so many different touchstones of commonality between us. And I knew I really wanted to support that. So I told my director that that is a goal that I wanted to have for the organization. I wanted to get into doing the dance and developing this kind of work. So that is what I had been putting my sweat into. I got a little bit of responsibility, and now I am loaded with responsibility. I'm up to the assistant director position at this point, traveling the world, acting as an advocate for accessibility, inclusion, and loving it. I just got back from Russia 3 weeks ago. We were performing about a deaf prison over there. And it wasn't just about dance in that case, but it was also about advocacy as well for the community and education to try and spread awareness and build the awareness within their culture and society. One of my absolute favorite parts of that was that we've gone to different schools that have deaf children. And for myself, growing up isolated as the only deaf person, I didn't really have any role models to look up to. I thought that when I grew up, I would become a hearing person. And now I see that I can be a deaf adult, provide representation for the deaf children around the world, and showing them that there's a path forward for them to do whatever they want to in their future, and that their dreams are attainable. And when they get that world of can'ts laid at their feet, they can ignore all of that because there are some very loud voices telling them that they can, just like all of you. So thank you very much for listening to my talk. I will hand it over to Tiffany now.
Now you can see why I run the pageant.
So our next speaker
Is Liz Allen.
and the
Fun fact about Liz is that
we've never been
met in person before. we're kind of internet friends, and I have just been really impressed with kind of how she has been building up her public speaking persona over the last year or so.
And really getting more involved in advocacy work.
Great. I think I might sit. Great.
Hello, well,
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to use a little bit of
Notes here.
as well, just to make sure I stay on track. So
Back in 2003, I was a two-sport Division I athlete
at an Ivy League school, I swam,
I walked over the summers, I rock climbed, I backpacked, and I led trips, rock climbing backpacking trips all over the U.S. In my sophomore year, when I came back to college, I went from working out 4 hours a day to barely being able to walk up 4 steps at a time without passing out. I went from being able to do all of my classwork to being unable to read words on a page. My heart was beating so loud in my chest and in my ears that I couldn't understand what people were saying. And I woke up with drenching night sweats. After a couple weeks of totally ignoring the problem, I finally went to the doctor and they diagnosed me with depression. They were like, "You're very sad, and this is why we have all these symptoms." And because I was young, I was 19 or 19, I believed them. I was like, all right, I guess this is like depression is very intense and very sweaty. I didn't understand what was happening. But I went to the therapist, and the therapist for months, and the therapist was like, "You're just sad, you're just sad." And I was like, I just feel like that's not true.
when I went home for winter break, my parents were like, you know, essentially did not recognize me. They were like, "What happened? Like, who are you? And like, how did you get so sick and not tell us?"
They ended up driving me to different doctors. I ended up going to 13 different doctors in 6 months. I picked up 6 different diagnoses, including orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is POTS, mono, which is Epstein-Barr virus, and eventually, over a year later, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease and babesiosis, which are both tick-borne illnesses. And we dropped really depression totally. The entire time, I wasn't sad so much as I was actually just very, very sick. With the diagnosis, I thought that I would come answers that I would
pills, I would take some antibiotics, and I would get totally better.
and instead, my immune system kind of broke in some sort of way that science didn't really understand yet. And I spent the last 16 years searching for how to get better. And it's taken me, within 4 years of getting sick, so by 2006, instead of getting better, I was actually bedbound, living in my childhood bedroom. My mom was feeding me. I was able to get to the bathroom by myself. I used a bedpan, at times a wheelchair, and my life got very, very small. Instead of living in New York City, partying, working, proving myself, I was literally in bed. And I kept saying things like, I'm tired. And people would be like, "Me too." And I would say things like, I don't know,
It just feels off, and they would be like, "Maybe you should stretch." And I was working with doctors, trying all these different protocols. So we would figure out maybe 4 or 5 different medications to take.
Go to the pharmacy, we'd fill up all these pill bottles, I would take meds for
3 months. We would do blood work, and then we'd find out nothing had changed, and I was still as sick as ever.
And so that's essentially what my life has been like since 2003. I've been trying to protocols. I had 32 total. I've got periods where I could work. Twice I've been out on disability from work. And it has been an intense logistical, emotional roller coaster. Where sometimes I do okay, and sometimes I do really poorly. You're catching me at a really good period. So I'm happy to be here and be able to be out of bed and in front of you today. But I spend the last 5 years, I've gone to the doctor every 3 days, and I've spent $20,000 a year out of pocket on medical care. This is with good insurance. I'm lucky enough to be at least employed or have COBRA, so I can get good insurance. And, you know, there's symptoms continue in some ways. A lot of the things that were my identity, the pieces of me I really believed when I was younger and in college. I identify as an athlete, a hardcore athlete. I identify as someone who, you know, worked hard, and that's how she got ahead. I would just put in extra hours, and that's what made me very good at what I did. I identified as someone who was really smart and loved learning, was very curious. And illness took a lot of that away from me. I'm no longer an athlete. I can't get my heart rate above 110 beats per minute. I have a really hard time when I have brain fog, thinking through things. Some of my intelligence is a little bit lower. And I cannot work hard the way I used to. I just can't do it. So these like different identities that I had to lose over time. And sometimes it's been really painful, a painful 10-year period of pulling off skins and trying to figure out how to regrow a different identity. And of course, I am like, you know, very much able passing. So people don't identify me as somebody who's got a disability immediately. It's something that I have to come out about. But of course, I'm not alone. 1 in 5 people manage chronic illnesses in the United States. That's 20% of the population. It's 133 million Americans that are similar to me, and 81 million manage multiple conditions. So not just one chronic illness, but multiple different things that they're managing. And of the 133 million people that manage illnesses, 96% have no visible mobility aid whatsoever. So you really are not going to be able to tell. And so I was thinking, I was really like, as I was kind of prepping for this a little bit, I was thinking about the question, which is like, how I actually thrive. Sometimes when I think about my last 16 years, I get really sad because it has not been easy to like shed skin and to be like chronic pain. It's a really exhausting thing, both mentally and emotionally. And there's been a lot of watching my friends do really great things and watch their careers move on and feel stalled. Really tricky. And it's been something that I've really had to grapple with. And so thinking about both the ways that I've like actually lived and thrived throughout the last 16 years, despite diagnosis, despite being disabled, has been a really great time for me. So here's a couple things I'm just going to share. 4 ways that I feel like I've thrived and a couple lessons that I learned from being chronic. So first is that I really started trusting my experience. I'm again, tell me that I'm depressed when I know I'm not. Not to say that there are not depressing things that have happened and that I do have moments of sadness, but I'm actually a really happy person. And to listen, have someone tell me that my experience wasn't real is extremely frustrating. So I'm someone who now fires doctors frequently. I tell them to get out. If they're not going to work with me, then that's fine. If they're not going to work with me, that's fine. But I'm not going to keep them as my doctor if they're not willing to partner. I would say the second thing that's been really huge is that come out of disability. So I'm out as someone with a disability for a long time. I just didn't tell anybody. I let people believe that I was sick in college and I got better, even though I wasn't better at all. And so it took years, like 8 years, to start telling my friends that I was not feeling well still, and that I was doing all of this stuff below the water. I was trying water like crazy to show up at events to pretend to be normal when I didn't feel that way at all. And coming out as somebody with a disability has also been amazing because it has brought healing and empathy in a way I didn't think was possible. I didn't think people could get it if they weren't disabled in a similar manner, and that is just not true. There's a lot of love and there's a lot of empathy that I've found through talking about my experience and talking about the pain that has been in my life. The third thing that has been awesome is, very difficult, but awesome, has been grieving and then redefining myself. So allowing myself to put down entities that I no longer associate with or that I can't do, and to try different things, to pick up new identities and to try them on like a sweater and see whether I like them or not. And I've tried all sorts of things, whether that's like woodworking or writing and speaking, or like gentle, I've become a gentle walker. And I just started trying Pilates for the first time, which is exciting. But it took, 10 years for my different dreams to die and for me to try to build up new ones. And it's been something I've done incredibly consciously, especially in the last 5 years, is trying to figure out new ways to thrive, even by limitations. And last is that what Tiffany was talking about is that I've really become an activist in the last couple of years. I would say in the last 4 years. I've done a lot of speaking and writing, particularly within the employment world. I speak and talk to people in tech and in HR departments all over the country about how to better employ people with little disabilities. So talking not just about different physical accommodations that need to be made, but how do you actually accommodate somebody who's got an immune system that functions wildly differently depending on the day? How do you accommodate someone with Crohn's disease? How do you accommodate somebody who's got lupus or MS? And what does it actually look like? How do you design a truly inclusive workplace for everyone? And that includes folks who you might not know need accommodations. So building a world where people are both honest and forthcoming about the accommodations they need, and then building a HR department that sees those accommodations and puts them in place. And so those are 4 ways that I have thrived, which would be trusting my experience, coming out, really redefining, and becoming an activist. And
the things that I love most about the last
years is that it has really taught me this kind of incredible level of empathy and inner strength when it comes to both myself and other people, being comfortable with myself and what I need on any given day, being a realist about that. And then looking at other people with that same thing. Like, I might not know you, I might not know your story, but whatever you tell me, like, I'm going to believe you in a way that maybe I wouldn't have always been well or always been able. And so I think that the ways that I thrive are both deeper and more meaningful because of my experience. So thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Liz. I love how you ended with that message of be gentle, because it's a really good one. Moving on to our next presenter is Francis Phiri.
And my
Fun fact
about him
is that we met in March
at the grand opening of the Disability Makers Traveling Exhibition,
which is coming to the San Francisco Public Library in January. So you will see us both again
on January, is it 14th?
January 14th to March 13th, 14th,
Oh.
2020. Next year, they'll be performing on the 14th, I think it's a Saturday. So come see them. Yes, she'll be performing on Saturday.
And
it works at the library, I forgot.
So yeah, so give it up for Francis.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Can you see me? Can you see me clearly? Okay. Maybe I'll sit or just stand. I think I'll stand.
Thank you, Tiffany,
for having me here, for hosting us all for this evening.
I want to give a little
bit of background about those of you who don't know me. Just to understand me clearly, I'm foreign.
My name is Francis. Sorry. This is
my son, Francis.
And my last name, many people confuse it when they say it and hear it.
But just to help you understand it, it's H-E-R-I, P-R-I, pronounced like Perry.
So not Phiri, but Perry.
People say the PH, but But that's all right. That's all right.
Anyway,
I'm from Zambia, in the sign of Zambia. I grew up in Zambia.
my story maybe is a little bit different,
From their story.
but I thrived.
In what community? The disability community.
And that disability, that community where I grew up in, tended to ignore me.
But the one community that did not ignore me was the disability community, or give pity to me. And that's, I think, how people see me today. As somebody who needs to be pitied, again.
We are strong, we have strength, we are smart and intelligent. And
That's what has brought me here.
for those that have ignored me over time,
People focus on the function of the ear, and they ignore the whole person. They don't realize the strength that I have and the knowledge that I carry. And the kind of disability is, oh, so sorry for you. And why does the general community pity us? My story maybe is, well, not so much of heartache, but again, it has a happy ending. I was born hearing. I became sick when I was 12. Do you all remember when you were 12? You were a teen, just preteen, and becoming really starting to understand the world around you. It started to open up to you, and I became really sick.
one year my parents, we were all poor. We didn't have money.
So I am from a poor area in Zambia. And my parents were not highly educated. My father had no job. He was released from his employment. And we were in desperate need. We would go to sleep often with no food. But my parents still survived. We all still survived. But I came sick, and we had but $1 to spend for food. Plus, we also needed medication. We had to choose between what we needed, the food or the medication. The food that saves our whole family. That was the choice we had to make. So we get the food, but my son is sick and we need the medication. We needed to figure out what we could do for the whole family. And which do you think they would choose? That was my life growing up. It was a struggle every day. Now, you can see I had become deaf. My parents both had died at the same time. And I thought to myself, why me?
Why me? Why would this happen to me?
And I never found the answer to that question. I asked myself constantly.
And it really changed my perspective.
To have to go through that.
Try. And I changed my perspective to try me. Try me.
Wherever I went. My parents were gone.
And I had become deaf.
The community and the world did not believe that I was capable. Now think about Zambia. Being deaf in Zambia is a very negative situation to be in. Disability was thought of as negative. It was negated. It was a burden on the community and your family. They had to take on that burden. That means what? They would leave you alone, and I was left alone. So when I became deaf, without my family no longer around, and no one willing to care for me, I became homeless. I had no home, nowhere to go, and I was in desperate need of food and sustenance. So I became mischievous in trying to get what I need. I always acted like nothing was happening, nothing was wrong, and tried to keep my head up. Like when you feel sad, it's hard to remember to keep your head up. The world has a lot to offer you. Also, it became my attitude as I went daily, day to day, to try to keep my head up, to have hope. I was always trying to get help in order to get some food, to get housing. And there were good people around. And so it was the ELO people, International Labor Organization. They saved me, made it possible for me to be here this evening. The ILO, they had a school. That's where I met a man named Frank Lester. His name is Frank Lester, he on the chest. He is a deaf individual, a deaf man. Again, an American with a disability. And he really changed my world for me, made a big impact. So as Tiffany was saying, in the world you need friends. You created your organization because you wanted to make friends. And I am doing the same thing. I was always left alone. I didn't have friends. People with disabilities are left alone, always. Or they think we just need help and pity. That because you have a disability, that you're a burden on society. And that's the reason why I do what I do for the disabled. I want to show the world that I'm strong, that I can thrive. No matter what the world tells me, no matter what the world tells us, through support of each other, we can all thrive. Frank Lester brought me here to America 10 years ago. I had no idea how to communicate. I did not know American Sign Language. But I didn't know English, but I had a passion to learn. And I know I needed to do that for myself. So I fought hard to make myself better. Being a deaf person in Zambia and then coming here to America, I had to represent my country. So there are needs that the deaf and the hard of hearing disabled need. The door needed to be open. It was really a chance for me because I was ready. Some doors and access were hard, but I persevered and thrived through it. And people like me need the same opportunities as everyone else. And that's why I started my organization. Frank Lester helped me. I got better education. Remember, when I came to America, it was not easy for a black male. And that's what I am, a deaf black male at that, and here in America. Oh my goodness, I had to work hard and struggle through the system just to get up to where I am. To be here in the US and show that black male that I can achieve, that I can become better in a system that oppresses black males. GPC-Z is the organization that I established to give back to my community in Zambia. It's the same opportunity I got back in Zambia that I'm now doing here and giving back to those in Zambia. And that's it. My organization gives back to the community in Zambia. So here in America, we must provide for others as well. I can't be stingy and just do for myself. My organization, our first Pride celebration, which was last year, I had decided to do a fundraiser and to raise money. It was not easy. I believed that I could do it. It was important work that I needed to do to show the community that I could achieve this. And I had people that believed in me and gave me support and helped me raise the funds that I needed. And I went back home to Zambia, to my country. And I received invitations as a leader, a deaf leader, to bring the deaf and disabled community together. There was about 50 people that all came together. And my organization supported this. If you couldn't afford to, we provided you. That's what our organization does, provide you with food and sustenance and a place to live. So people are thriving the disabled are thriving in Zambia. They're becoming healthier, they're finding employment. There's a lot of things that we need to do. A curriculum, educational curriculum, sign language dictionary, expand our school, because what we have now, there are a lot of concerns for the kids that are in the town in Zambia. There's, I think 8th or 9th grade is how far they achieve, and they need it also to be fed. So they're out on the street. It's a small community, but they need a place to sleep. And my organization is trying to provide, by fundraising, to expand the school in Zambia so that the educational levels can continue to 8th, 9th, 10th, on through high school grades. And go on, we have a program set up to help them go on to college and university. So if you're interested in giving us support and helping us expand our school in Zambia, please let us know. And the 5th thing that we want to do is have a safe place for deaf
Women.
For
right now, they've been.
They don't have a stable place to live, to sleep. They have to use their bodies. Some often they have to sleep under a tree, and there is a fear of being assaulted. I mean, they're women.
Where are they going to go?
We need to do something for them. We need an organization that will provide all of these 5. These are the 5 things that we're working on next year in Zambia in 2020. And we host our 2nd conference. And that's how we will make Zambia thrive and be a better place for the deaf and hard of hearing. And we can do it together. It'll be a place for everyone, deaf and hard of hearing. So everyone. And everybody can work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Francis. One thing his talk really reminded me of was there's a saying that another disability advocate, Alice Wong, said to me, and she said, what are you going to do with the power you've been given to have a voice within your community? And I often think about whatever privileges or whatever power we do have, how are we giving back to our communities? So now it's time for our last speaker, Alex Locust. And my fun fact about Alex is that I knew Alex before I met him because about 2 years ago, I started a microgrant for disability projects where every single month we award $1,000 to a disability project anywhere in the world. And all of the funding for the grants comes from within the disability community. There are about 10 or 11 of us. We've awarded over $32,000 to date. And Alex was one of our grant winners because he runs this really incredible workshop called Build the Disability, like TEA.
And we've been trying, hopefully maybe in 2020, Diversability will host Alex for a Build Disability. But with that, I will hand this over to Alex.
Oh, mine doesn't work that way.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex Locust. I was joking earlier that the question of like how do I thrive is something that I've been deeply processing lately. And just to kind of give background, think about my life and the way that other people can share it. I was born with a disability. My left leg just never locked in. Definitely can relate to having a mom, growing up like a house of hands, and really fortunate to have parents who advocated for me, helped challenge kind of the ableism in the world that told me like that my body was the problem. I learned a lot about questioning environments, questioning how people looked at me, how people treated me, which was really important. In kind of raising me to be like the tenacious fighter that I am today. And part of all of those experiences that I lived and experienced, whether good, bad, or ugly, led me to the clinical rehab mental health counseling program in San Francisco State, which is basically a counseling program where we specialize in supporting people with disabilities. I met a really amazing classmate, Caitlin Kimmel, who told me she does like disability awareness workshops. Right? I was like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. So we presented together, and it was just really invigorating and super liberating to have the mic and not be just like in public and having somebody be like, what happened to your leg? What happened to you? Why didn't you have a prosthetic? Did you know you could get a prosthetic? Would you like any help? Like all these questions, and I'm like, I'm just trying to go up the stairs. And so to get to work with her on that really opened up a new chapter in my life. And since then, I had the privilege of going to a workshop that Mia Mangus hosted, and it was so community oriented. There was potluck at the beginning. We did 2 icebreakers. Like I met friends at that. I made friends at that workshop, and it's like I have to do this. Like this is everything that I've been wanting to do with my workshop. I've just been doing this like PowerPoint, and she cracked my world open. I was like, this is how these things should be. It shouldn't just be that you go and sit down and somebody lectures at you and then you learn something and you leave. It should be that you build community through what you've learned, and that you have somebody that you can walk away with and say, now I have more people that I can to be in the movement together and to feel less like isolated. And so I channeled that energy that I got through that workshop and channeled it into disability. And I hosted my first one in San Francisco last year. And since then, I've gotten to host in LA and New York and Portland. And it has just been this like amazing world for meeting other disabled folks and people who are in allyship with disability justice. And getting really sweet emails around like, feeling affirmed or feeling seen or feeling invigorated to join the movement or do more, or knowing that they're on the right track. And all of that has like been part of how I thrive, right? It's been nourishing, it's been it's really empowered me to have like a sense of pride, right? I call myself an amputee, like the glamorous amputee, and it's almost this persona that I kind of lock into, right? Like, I feel like I've always had that pride, and part of the pride is owning that identity, right? I can't sit in front of a group of people and say disability justice is what I strive for if I don't like own it myself. And what I wanted to share about a lot tonight was how in getting kind of swept up in this, it has been a little bit intoxicating, right? And something that I'm learning that just because I can, you should. and challenging the cans and embracing the cans is also like a part of disability justice. And so much of what I've learned from like since I started are the people who put these ideas out there. You know, these ideas of interdependence is like really what has helped, or what I'm working on right now, right? And even this week is a perfect example of when I've become my own worst enemy. I had a speaking gig last night, tonight, tomorrow. I'm going to Portland on Thursday night to speak on Friday. So amazing experiences, right? I'm really excited for all of them, and also I have a full-time job. Right? So I'm tired, and you know, just because I had the opportunities doesn't mean I had to say yes to everything. So some of the things I wanted to talk about tonight were I've been unlearning some of the like dangerous and counterproductive messages that I've been taught, either just in general, you know, kind of in like a fun capitalist society that we live in, or in the ways that I've tried to like overcompensate or overcome my disability. And I think that by embracing disability, by embracing limitation, it actually provides a lot of window of learning how to be more sustainable and more successful over time. So, for instance, the difference for me between independence and interdependence has been really huge, right? Spill the Disability in San Francisco last year happened because I saw this workshop that I wanted to emulate, and I just started asking for help, right? I don't have access to a space. I don't have the skills necessarily to market in the way that I needed to, even just the people power, right? Like, I had friends offer help and everything seemed okay. And then morning up, I was like running to FedEx and I was doing this thing. And I could have used like 5 more people to help that day than who were already helping. But because I asked, we were able to accomplish it. And so the interdependence of saying like, can't do everything myself, having people help me with my logo, with my website, with photography. Those are things that if I had kind of stubbornly been like, I'll figure it out, I wouldn't be at this point. I wouldn't have been able to travel and host and find spaces for free, right? People who have access to things. Like, I don't have that means yet to do so, and asking for help is a sign of strength. I think, you know, growing up, being afraid of seeming helpless, right, or seeming like I needed help was something I'm still like unburdening myself from. It's okay to need help. And by asking for it, you can get what you need as opposed to posturing like you're fine. And it also deepens community connections. I think even from a professional standpoint, by asking for what you need, you then become more authentic. And in creating these like genuine connections, you can then figure out what other people need and how you can help them. Right? You're modeling that for other people. And I think that's something that in a business or organizing perspective, sometimes we posture as like, I'm fine. I'm great, and a lot of us are not great. So that's been really liberating for me. I think the next thing is the difference between self-care and community care. You know, I'm a counselor by training, and self-care is something that sometimes I wish I don't have to hear about anymore. We say that so many times in my field, and I have to be honest, like sometimes I don't know how to take care of myself. And community care is so much more powerful for me to just like be in my community and say, I have a lot of laundry to do tonight, and if I go home by myself, I will not do it. I'm tired, you know, or I just don't have the energy, and inviting someone over to hang out and just like do laundry together, or meet at a coffee shop and be like, neither one of us want to do emails. It's 8:30. But I know that if I go with you, we can kind of tackle this and accomplish this together. So that kind of community care, giving back to my community, like helping it thrive helps me thrive. So being mindful of like what other causes need support and who needs that nourishment, and how can I, when I have the energy and the availability, how can I give back so that it's kind of paying it forward. And then one more thing in the realm of kind of like the idea of community being like my main source of thriving is the difference between scarcity and abundance. You know, I kind of alluded to capitalism, and I think just so much of what I've learned is like from the scarcity model, you know, like there's only so much to go around, and you can only be, you know, you have to be the best and be better than everyone else. And, you know, you are the expert, right? And it's just like the more that I immerse myself in community, the more I realize like like living a life of abundance is so much more freeing, right, and exciting, and it's a revelation, right? Like there's amazing people like Tiffany and other people doing this disability organizing, you know, that if I kept going in a way like I have to do it all, I'm gonna crumble, right? I can't solve ableism myself, and I think when we get in the flow of like we're making change or we're really proud of what we're doing, it can be easy to like feel like we have to kind of tackle everything, and treating everything in, from a stance of abundance. Like now I'm in a position where I'm making money and with these workshops, and I have more resources so I can give back, right? And I can hire out friends, or if I get an opportunity, I can say, oh, I don't have the availability, but here's somebody else who might need that. And now I'm kind of helping to spread the wealth and the abundance of talking to other people, like how much am I getting paid? How much are you getting paid? Did I undersell myself? Are you getting undersold? Rather than kind of hoarding everything to myself, not telling people like how I made something happen, who I talked to get to that point. And we're all lifting each other up in that way. And so I just find approaching this work from a state of abundance really frees us all from the like fear of losing out. And really like makes it more exciting to see how we can all thrive together rather than just like one of us alone. I want to close to, you know, I very recently have been introduced to the work of Adrienne Marie Brown, and her pleasure activism work has just been such like integral like healing for me, in the idea that like activism, organizing, like making cultural change should be pleasurable. It should be fun. It should feel good. It shouldn't be this thing where like we drive ourselves into the coals and then like look up and like, did we do it? Is it done? You know, like I'm trying to like really bask in like opportunities like this and getting to travel and meet new people, and even like overbooking myself or saying yes to too many things. Sometimes it's hard to celebrate success or change because I'm so busy moving to the next thing. So I'm trying to slow down more. I'm trying to space things out so that I can kind of just like revel in the people I'm meeting, the change that I'm being affirmed around, and you know, if the whole intention is for me to like enjoy the process, then I should probably like, enjoy what I'm doing. So I'm just really grateful for this idea of leading with pleasure and enjoying activism in a way where like I can cater to my mental health and my sexual health and my friends and my community. These are things that often, like when we work ourselves to the bone, get left behind. So I just encourage you all to read Adrienne Marie Brown and just like have fun in whatever you're doing, because I think that is the sustainability that we need to thrive. And that for me has been really, really life-changing.
Thanks, Alex. All right, so we'll pull up some of these chairs to bring all of our presenters up. And I get to introduce Jared, who's going to moderate just a couple questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. But Jared and I met 5 years ago, 6 years ago in New York City. We were both living there at the time. And our partnership, Diversability's partnership with ThoughtWorks, has gone cross-country. He has helped us host Diversability events in New York, San Francisco, maybe one day Chicago, anywhere ThoughtWorks has an office, and just a really incredible ally. So just wanted to recognize him and celebrate him as part of this panel as well.
Thanks, Tiff. Yeah, we have 43 offices now globally, so one day we will be chapters in every city. My name is Jared Hatch. I have been with ThoughtWorks for about 7 years now, and I'm on the marketing team. I used to live in New York, as Tiff had said, and I moved to San Francisco a few years ago. ThoughtWorks is a global software consultancy, but we believe that there's a human side to every product that we build, every solution that we help our clients with. So it's very important to us that we take into account all aspects of the creation of software. So, thank you for filling the office with life and stories. I've been trying to be a better storyteller for years now, and I feel that just by being in your presence, and hearing these stories, it's something that I want to be better at, and I respect all of the words and feel all of the words that that I'm hearing. So thank you. In the interest of time, I think that we had 5 questions, but we're going to pare it down to 2. We're going to talk about reflections on 2019, and then vision for future. So I think the first question is, what has been the biggest success that you had or the communities had in 2019?
Great. I think I'm going to talk just really briefly about a personal success, which is that I think it represents a larger disability success, which is that I've been getting, which I mentioned, which is that I've been getting a lot of inbound around disability, and I'm speaking to much bigger audiences like HR for AmeriCorps or HR for big tech companies that are really excited about disability and disability inclusion, and that the audiences are getting bigger and more engaged, which I feel like is kind of a talisman for what's happening in the future, and how I think this conversation is just beginning to percolate and get stronger. But the number of people who have followed up with me to be like, hey, can I get, what's an accommodation worksheet, or can I like get this piece of resource from you, is really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of energy. So the future is accessible, and the future is now.
In terms of the community, one of the biggest ones I saw in 2019, it was unfortunate, but around the fires, the Power to Live campaign, it was the Access-Centered Movement and the Disability Justice Culture Club. That was Cece Milburn and Jessica Lehman, a lot of other activists in the Bay, just did really amazing work organizing very quickly around supporting disabled folks in crisis. So I just want to give them a shout out for just like the mobilization that they did. Personally, I also experienced kind of a really expensive year in terms of exposure. I got to be a part of a really fun podcast called She's All Fat, which is around like fat liberation and fat activism, which has really linked me into like the body positivity community, and just a lot of really dope people online talking kind of about the intersections of disability justice and fat liberation. I got to be in Out magazine around like 50 radical ideas for queer liberation, which just felt really amazing, to talk about disability justice. It's integral to queer liberation, and there's a body positive fashion show in the Bay called Celebrate Your Body. So I got to kind of take some clothes off and have some fun, so that was really great.
So cool, I have this one. I'm going to take a quick look at my notes. Okay. One of the big successes from last year, no, this year, you mean this year in 2019? Okay. Yes, it's still 2019. Okay. So 2019, I think for me, not much happened in 2018. I'm sorry, 2018 was my big year, excuse the interpreter. 2018 was my big year. Not so much happened during 2019. So I had a big success last year. But anyway, so I really got some funds, and I became ready to become a leader in my country. There were 50, excuse me. There were 50 leaders working all together to learn what the issues really were in my country. And we all had successes in that. We came together, we worked together, we hired, we invited the government to come. There were various organizations, we had discussions about what we can do to help. the hard of hearing, the deaf in Zambia, and in my neighborhood. And we were asking the deaf if we could put a deaf person in as part of administration. Also, the government would be able to see what we could do, deaf and hard of hearing, in the communities in Zambia, and how we can give back to the community. And the government said, please, yes, yes, we are willing to help you. So we really benefited from that. It was a big celebration that we all had for our community in Zambia. And right now, we've become responsible for developing deaf curriculum in the whole of our country, and to have full deaf education, teachers with sign language for deaf and hard of hearing. It's really a huge celebration for us this year. And we also are setting up an interpreting agency, and we're asking Zambians to give us funding to help us, and we've been approved by the government. And also to give us property so we can open our own offices. So the celebration is still going on, and we're still going to do more. We are overwhelmed with excitement. And now the government really understands us, finally, and believes in us. Yeah.
So 2019, it was a busy year for me, actually. I actually had quite a number of little successes, and I think, honestly, I lost track of how many different places I had a chance to go with the company. We went to Russia, we went to places in the UK, we went to Indiana, and Ohio, and the Ukraine. We basically went to 30 different schools and did performances that included deaf and hard of hearing children in so many different places, which is one of the things I love to do most as a performer. And we also just hosted in the Bay Area Disability Festival, which we did for our 7th year in a row. And this last November, we also did our 2nd year of a deaf out loud program, which is a part of the urban jazz dance program productions. We had a deaf blind performer and a host of other people involved as well. And the stories that they were able to share was incredibly powerful. We had a deaf blind attorney as well come and share their story. We had a German artist come. And I was also an editor for Science and Invalid. Yes. And that was the Science and Invalid program, which was a peer-edited journal. And it was the first time that they actually had a deaf person published in that book, as well as autism perspective as well. So we were really thrilled to be able to offer that. And it was just published and distributed this last November. So, but I have to say probably the biggest success of all of that is the chance to meet all of the many different people and to see the diversity around the world, the cultures, and to learn from all of those people and to hear some of the most amazing, beautiful, and touching stories from other people around the world. I think it really shows us that we need to do more in the way of diversity in our world. And so I think it's just a really good part about it all.
Yeah, I think it's been a really wonderful year. If I were, if we were a little bit later in December, I would raise my glass and I would toast the panel, and I'd toast everyone here. Thank you for this work. Looking forward to 2020. Imagine we're in the end of December with that champagne glass high up. What are we looking forward to in 2020? And what specifically would we ask to see on the Disability 2020 agenda?
So the Americans with Disabilities Act, obviously everyone knows, turns 30 right in 2020. So I think there should be, I hope there's a lot of activism around the ADA turning 30 and some serious kind of thoughts and thinking around how to improve it. I would love for it to be a little more expanded and for folks to bring in and to think about how to really protect and accommodate those with invisible disabilities and illnesses and thinking about the intersection of those things. But I really hope that there's a lot of movement and activism around the ADA.
For 2020 personally, I would love to host a disability that centers and specifically for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I think that would be a really fabulous evolution. It's something I've been doing. And in terms of the community broadly, Citizen Ballot has been doing a lot of really amazing work about climate chaos. And I really hope that we all can kind of look to them. They're a guiding light for me, and they're like radical, like queer correct future. So I really want to see what they talk about and how we can support their work.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're not going to give me a mic? Just teasing. Okay. For me, 2020, it's providing already a lot of excitement for me, and I'm looking forward to a lot happening. We already have a full schedule, and I'm a little bit nervous about that. And at the same time, I'm really thrilled and excited. For me, I teach at a high school, a private high school. So I set up ASL club at the high school where I work. And the kids have all adopted a sister school. And we adopted this as our little sister school. And so next year, we're going to go to Zambia to visit the students there. So each student, they have their own project. There's a few of them. One project is full library because they love books, to establish the library in the new school. So remember, this is a private school, and these students come from good, wealthy families. And so many of them wanted to establish a library. The other one is to recruit students who love science and give full support to them. And also to set up and help them prepare for college, to give them scholarship fees. And they are so excited about adopting these projects.
And another kid is going to set up a soccer coach camp because he's really excited about being able to bring all the resources that he has for that particular pursuit.
And so the work now as an organization is to host about 6 meetings, so we all come together and discuss. It's kind of something we've already done last year, but we want to continue this into 2020, how we can develop the curriculum and do a follow-up. And we're really excited to see what is possible. We need to also think about the finances to make this all possible and finding support to help us achieve this. So in Zambia, not just in Zambia, but in Africa, the continent of Africa, I think it's really becoming a hot ticket people want to be invited for. And so we're really excited about that happening all throughout the continent of Africa and working together.
That is so cool, Francis. Well, I am looking forward to dancing my way through 2020. Well, I think for 2020, the hope that I have is that, sometimes in the world and in the disability world in particular, deaf people can be forgotten. because of a lack of communication. You know, there are barriers there. And within the deaf community, even you have deaf blind people who get forgotten, or deaf plus, those folks who have additional disabilities of varying kinds. So we have a lot of intersectionality within our community of different identities. And so my hope is that even though the communication barriers, well, I mean, even though they're there, I really hope to get rid of them and try to forget about that and move on with who we are. Because I think that would be a great benefit to the whole world. I mean, we also have deaf senior citizens as well. And that's really the hope that I have for 2020.
Thank you. I think we have time for, we have maybe 10 minutes or so for Q&A. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask or anything at all. You know, the first question is always the hardest. One of the questions that I had for Francis actually was about the science or STEM or STEAM program that's being built out. Science engineering program that's being built out, and if there are plans to kind of partner with local organizations in San Francisco to deepen that relationship.
Ooh, I would love to learn more about that. So STEM is really important, and it's a hot topic right now. So as she said, deaf and hard of hearing, is that often the deaf and hard of hearing people are a population that are forgotten. So in partnering and working with you and getting rid of the barriers to communication, as Zahna just mentioned, we have the technology. We have software engineers. We have deaf tech, we have deaf technicians or deaf people in the tech business in Silicon Valley. So like you, we have companies and other people, so together we can overcome any barrier. Yeah. We would love, it's a big opportunity to honor. It would be a huge honor to become part of the STEM.
And we'd love for them to be our allies, right?
I'm already thinking about a partnership. Other questions? Yeah.
I have a question. That idea of pleasure activism, you know, that needing to take a break, do some self-care. I gotta admit, it makes me a little bit nervous because when I think about myself as a leader and I think about taking a break, if not me, then who? Who's gonna be left to do the work? And if I stop and I take that step back, how much harder will it be to get back? I don't know. I'm thinking about this a little bit, but I'm not really sure I have like a timeline or a schedule set forward for myself. But maybe you do have like a way of calendaring your own self-care and thinking about, I guess the question then is that it's dark there. So then how do you find your way to being okay with leaving the space and not being there?
I think I'm looking at Nakia in the back because we were just texting about this weekend. I share that same fear. Part of that intoxication of doing these workshops is the affirmation. I'm a Leo, I love attention. It's also the sense of like, I'll be in a space, right? One of the questions was like, what makes a good ally, right? One of the things that we were prepping for. And I have people in my life who come to me because I've positioned myself as a disability justice activist. And I'll have people say like, you know, you will never believe what so and so said in this meeting. And I'll be like, well, what did you say about it? And they're like, nothing, I don't know what to say. And so it feels like even when people know something's up, they're still not acting. And so I do find myself in like compelled or almost like this compulsion, and I can't stop because if I don't stop, if I stop, everything will come to a screeching halt, you know? And so part of immersing myself in community is kind of like my antidote to that fear. Because the more I go out, the more I hear what people are doing, the more I'm like, we're doing disability justice on a global level. I've seen you perform, you know, and it's been beautiful. Like, there are people doing things. We just kind of have to shake ourselves out of the feeling that if we don't do it, it won't happen. And because it is happening, it just sometimes can be easy to feel like we're isolated. And also that self-care is me like shaking people in my life to be like, they're like, you should slow down. Have you ever thought of not doing so much? I'm like, are you doing these? Would you like to host a workshop? Because that would be great if you could also contribute to this conversation. So it's holding people accountable, because I think that's a huge part of it. It's like, it's really easy to like do, and I'm like, all of you are calling yourselves allies, like it's in your Twitter bio, like get together. So I think that's kind of what I'm trying, right? It's not necessarily successful, as I mentioned with this week, but I've done where like I take December and January off. My birthday's in July, so I don't do workshops in July. So sometimes I do big chunks. I'm trying to kind of switch things up to feel what feels good, both for like my pacing and like working smarter, not harder.
I'm gonna add, because when I share, it's like deep emotional sharing when I'm doing workshops. I actually have like a self-care afterwards, where sometimes I get a massage, I don't talk to anyone for like a full day. And I did, before this work, I did a lot of social justice organizing and work, and I took 2.5 years off because I just had to. I wasn't being very effective. I was miserable myself, and I think there's something really powerful about doing the work in a happy, centered, healthy way that is super important. And I read a lot of people who, like, if you're on Instagram, the nap ministry is really amazing, and talk a lot about rest and recovery and how important that is, just for like as an act of resistance and an act of like anti-capitalism, is to not continue to do, but to rest and to like uphold that as something, as a value that you have. So I think for me, reading, taking a step back when you need to, and then setting up, for me, I have to have routines. Otherwise, especially because I share deeply, people share deeply back, and sometimes I can't hold it because I'm too tired. And so knowing that if I can't hold it, that's doing them a disservice. So I have to really make sure that I'm like have my boundaries strong.
What was that Instagram? Nap?
The Nap Ministry. They're amazing. She's amazing.
And Alex, I might change my Twitter bio later, but I was just on your Twitter. You're on Twitter at Glenn Great. Yeah. We have time for one more question. Yes.
So it's sort of a two-part question. My background is in theater and sort of the performing arts entertainment world. And I recently became aware of this catchphrase that I guess has been around for a little while in the disability community for how we're portrayed in like film and television and whatnot. It's called inspiration porn. Okay, so I just recently became aware of this. Anyway, I'm just wondering if you've heard of that, and also, you know, how do you feel, because I know I personally have been told, oh, you're such an inspiration by so many random strangers. Like, how does that make you feel? Do you have any good stories about sassy things that you have said to respond to that, or anything like that you'd be willing to share? I'm just interested.
Great. I hope it's sassy.
To answer your question, yes, I've heard that a lot. Inspiration porn. But for me, there's one thing that's really involved. For me, it's movies in San Francisco. It's called Can You Read My Lips? Have you heard about that? It was a big advertisement everywhere, it seemed like. And it shows how hard it is to lip read. Some people, you know, they have mustaches and beards, and it's impossible to see their lips. It's like they're barely moving. So, you know, it's really hard for us to even read their lips. So it makes that advertisement, when you see it, can you read my lips? Lip reading when you're deaf. It's kind of a famous thought most people think about. And if you're foreign, you know, if it's on Facebook or Instagram and you see these posts that go out to everyone, and some people are like, oh, that is inspiration porn. And so what we call our, you complain about maybe, you see it, you see them and you can't hear, you complain about it. And you
say you can't hear, you can't see, so that means that I can't complain about my situation. You're inspiring me. That's the inspiration point there. You know, and it's like, hey, you don't know what that's going to be like or how you would react if you were in that situation, living that kind of life. So it really depends on how you feel. Like if you're telling somebody like, oh yeah, I know exactly how you feel because, you know, I have my legs, and that's clearly, I don't actually understand how you feel. So, you know, I think it kind of goes back to trying to catch people on their business and figure out like, how many people are watching that and driving them to click the advertising revenues and things. So, you know, that's a hard thing to try and stop.
yes, they really need to stop that.
I'm not really sure I've ever seen a solution to get people to stop doing that kind of thing, except for to just keep on with the comments, add those comments so that the people from our community have an opportunity to say, well, you know, sure, today's people have something to contribute to the world, but maybe we can drive the narrative a little bit differently so it doesn't become that inspiration porn situation.
I only get it after I actually say that I'm disabled, but after I've shared my story, people will be like, oh my God, you've done so much. You know, went from bedbound to a lawyer working in tech. And it's like, ah. And usually I just say, well, I'm living. What was I supposed to do for 16 years? Like, you know, but I actually feel I would love it if maybe someone else has, if anyone in the audience even has something that they would say, because I feel the same way. I'm always like, you know, like, okay. Yeah, totally. So tell me you got something else.
I've got a good story. I haven't worked up a response. Usually I'm just so also kind of like frozen. When I'm doing workshops, I talk about microaggressions, I talk about inspiration porn. And there was a wedding that I went to last year. It was a queer wedding. It was open bar. I was enjoying myself. So I was like, you know, dancing and just having a great night. The next day, some person came up to me and was like, hey, you're my hero. And it just kind of like sounded like, who are your heroes? I was very drunk. This is it, you know what I mean? Like it just, again, kind of like what people have been talking about. It, to me, communicates what like low bar people have for disabled folks, or what low expectations they have for us to like be out here smiling and like thriving. And any of us do like a modicum of that. Like I'll be going upstairs and people are like, I don't know how you do that. Like, well, this one came before that one, and then I do the one after that. Like it gets really exhausting. So.
Yeah, so what I wish like, you know, people really, just told their stories more, like on all, you know, if you have more representation, especially in TV and media, it's like the crux of the problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's starting to turn a little bit, but it's
Actually, that was what I was going to say, was that more representation is a real key feature, is to get those stories out there, and then you'll have more people, you know, changing that behavior. But it's also that, there's one example. Sometimes when you do like the videos that are out there, especially those that mock that behavior, by trying to give them sort of a different view on that, it can be educating because, we do sometimes appreciate the behavior because, for example, we have artists in the deaf community, they're called Deafies in Drag, and they do all of these videos showing these like really over the top performances and about deaf people like going to the restaurant to order and they like write it and show it to the waiter, and the waiter's like, oh my God, I don't know how to respond. I mean, it's really overly dramatized, but it gets that message out there about that idea of behaving that way and doing it in a fun way, but specifically calling out people in a way that they can look at that and learn from a more generalized perspective, not individual to them.
I guess I'll just add something here. Two things. So one is, I really like the idea of being gentle. So for a lot of people who perhaps are interacting with you, it may be the first time that they're seeing someone who looks like you. And so, it's interesting because now I have artwork on my splint, and so people are like, or when people first saw my splint, they're like, oh my God, what happened? And I was like, oh, I have to tell someone about my childhood trauma like every single time. But then I'm like, oh, this is probably their first time seeing the splint. So if I kind of like treat each time as a reset, it allows me to say, oh, like, let me tell you more about my story. And then the second thing I'll say is that with inspiration comes action. So if someone comes to you and they say, oh, you're so inspiring, sometimes I'll be like, oh, can you like hire us now? Or can you go to Alex's workshop? Or can you pay Zahna and Antoine to come perform at your school? Like, what are you inspired to do? Like, do something. And so kind of just rooting yourself in like the inspiration to action, because we actually can't control how other people feel about us. And so kind of just thinking through like, okay, you're inspired now, like, let's actually figure out something for you to do, like, now that you're my ally.
I think that was a great way to close, Tiff. I think we're at time. Liz, Alex, Francis, Donna, thank you for being here, for sharing your stories. Thanks, Tiffany, for putting this together. LINK20. And feel free to hang out as long as you like. This office never closes.
Can we take one panel picture? Oh. Do you want us to sit or do you want to sit or stand? Do one sitting and one standing.
I'll use a light for this to do this.
All right, 1, 2. Oh, does he want on his? All right, look here first. We'll keep
Three, 2, 1. And one more. 3, 2, 1.
Can they do a standing one or one standing one?
Yep.
you. Thank you.
So you have a business model? Yeah, that's what I was
I would love to. Are you on Instagram? I would love to. Have you take all your. Oh.
Yep. That's a good But it actually is. Yeah. All my programs breaking that thing down with
Yeah.
So our program is cool. If your program is ready, we would love we to set up something we can do together. So in 2022, we're heading over to Zambia.